Good evening, all. This is May 11, meeting of the Council Conservation Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order and take a roll call. James Gates.
Present.
James LeClaire.
Present.
Jones Boy.
Present at 7:03 p.m.
Thank you. Colby Streeter.
Present.
And Ann LeClaire present. The meeting is being video recorded. Is there anyone else recording? Meeting decorum letter from town administrator. I do.
Can everybody hear this?
We have to vote for officers now, right, Mike?
That comes.
No, that's next on the agenda. Did you guys have a copy of the agenda in front of you?
I do. I do not have the letter from the town administrator though, so that will have to.
Well, I have it and it's in the box.
Well, you got the two that we printed.
So, but okay. Well, I can read it off, and I also So thanks. So just to help out in the future, there is there's a new folder that's in the box that includes a lot of just general information about it's the board and committee handbook, the open meeting law guide, a copy of the oath everyone took when they came in, and the selectmen's policy on meeting decorum. I just want to make sure that everybody, if there's any questions or anything going on in the future where people don't know what the policies and procedures are, they're able to just pull out the document and reference it. And so folks will always have that available so that if there's any issues, they can go into that. For the letter, I can read that off to the folks. This was sent over by the town administrator, Ross Perry, the interim town administrator, last week on Friday, on the 5th. So I'm happy to read that out.
Thank you.
Sure. Townsend Conservation Committee members, it has come to my attention that at a recent Conservation Commission meeting degraded to shouting and insults between members. The behavior is not appropriate and interferes with the Commission's effectiveness in conducting the business of the town. The Townsend Board and Committee Handbook states that members should treat every person fairly and with respect. And while professional respect does not preclude differences of opinion, it requires respect for those differences and the people who express them. These values and decorum are reinforced in the Selectmen's Policy 1-
You're frozen, Mike. No. I can read it.
Here, I can pop in. Hold on, I have to find it though. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I was not actually following along with the letter, so I don't know where he left off, but I will start on the second paragraph. The Townsend Board and Committee Handbook states that members should treat every person fairly and with respect. And while professional respect does not preclude differences of opinion, it requires respect for those differences and the people who express them. These values and decorum are reinforced by Selectmen's Policy number 1-2021, titled Meeting Decorum and Order for All Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, which states all members shall accord the utmost courtesy with each other and to the town. Additionally, it mentions that participants may only speak upon recognition by the presiding officer. A member shall confine comments to the question under debate and shall avoid all personalities and inflammatory language. The behavior displayed by members at the Conservation Commission meeting convened on April 27th, 2022, displays a lack of civility, decorum, and respect that is not consistent with Townsend standards. The aggressive behavior displayed is very concerning and unwelcome in any municipal meeting, and a zero tolerance mindset must be enforced. There are veiled threats and accusations made that can only be described as demanding, discriminatory, and demeaning. Behavior like this is not acceptable at any time. I remind you that all of you were appointed by the Select Board because of your experience, perspectives, and anticipated contribution to the Conservation Commission and the town of Townsend. However, if there is an immediate improvement in the behavior and decorum, I will recommend the board reconsider these appointments. If the commission is willing, I will arrange for a couple training sessions that cover working together and valuing differences. In addition to reviewing the above mentioned handbook and policies, I recommend reading Robert's Rules of Order, which covers meeting procedures and conduct. I will be glad to purchase copies for the commissioners. I hope you will join me in looking forward to cohesive and functioning Conservation Commission meetings. Sincerely, Ross Perry, Interim Town Administrator, with carbon copy to the Select Board.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Jess. Sorry I got cut off. I'm back, everybody. I apologize for that.
1.4 on the agenda is vote for officers. Does anybody have,
I nominate James Gates to be chairman.
anybody second that?
Second.
James, would you accept that position?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. James Jr., are you in favor of that? I'm sorry, Colby Street, are you in favor of that? Thank you. John Savoy, are you in favor of that?
Yes, but we didn't have discussion.
Let's start for James.
Well, before we make the final,
That's okay, thank you.
no, go ahead, Joan, if you have anything to say. John Savoy, are you in favor of that?
Yes, I said.
James LaCour, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
James Gates, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Dan LaCour, are you in favor of that? Yes. Now we have we need to take a vote on vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? I'd like to recommend James LaCour take vice chair.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on this?
In light of recent meetings, I suggest we hold off on vice chair right now and consider this at a later meeting.
Not a bad point, because we are down 2 members too.
We have someone else coming on that has submitted a voluntary response form.
If I can offer a point of order.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks. Under the Boards and Committee Handbook and the Open Meeting Law, I don't think you can operate without elected officers. If there isn't an elected officer in position, I think you do have to have an election. Also outlined in the Board and Committee Handbook is the fact that elections need to happen in July as well. So the elections we're talking about right now will carry us through to that point, but it is outlined that there has to be elections of officers on July 1st because there will be new committee members or reappointments of committee members. So anytime there's any change or makeup in the board, it's considered best practices to have another election, but I don't think you can choose not to have officers.
So he's go ahead, John.
Can one nominate oneself? Right.
I don't see, there's nothing in here that says you can't.
Like, given all the work I've been doing, I nominate myself for vice chair, and assuming it will be temporary because we will have to do this again a couple of times in the next couple of months.
He's frozen.
I don't think this is valid. I just want to double check. If that's valid, I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 James, do you want the meeting now?
Yes.
So we eyed for Joan. Okay.
Oh, you asked for me.
Yeah.
I nominated myself,
You have been nominated though, and there's,
but no one seconded it. No one seconded it.
Yes, there was a
No,
second.
well, I
on-
seconded it, but then you nominated yourself and Colby seconded it. Mike, help us out with this.
Sure. Okay, so it sounds like we have a couple of nominations on the floor. Maybe we could do some roll call votes to figure out a resolution to that. I think if I'm correct, there was a nomination, the first nomination should probably go first. Just because it was motion made and seconded.
No, so
But it's yeah, that's my, just looking at this, that would be my recommendation, but you know, as the chair has the discretion to move forward.
To get more discussion then, James, on that nomination. So the nomination is for Mr. Leclerc for vice chair. I agree with what Colby said after the April 27th meeting, that it would not be an appropriate choice. Also, the July, I think it was July 26, 22 meeting when Mr. Leclerc asked the chair to remove TCAM from the room, and the vote was taken, and TCAM was ejected, was voted to stop filming. So that was a 6-minute meeting. I do believe that if we are not allowing community access, we are discriminating against people and limiting transparency. And I can't support someone who doesn't support community access.
I believe that has been settled, that we are going to allow community access. Colby, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we just listened to an advisory citing the town, whatever it's, the town guidebook.
It's all policy number 1-2021.
There you go. And that was directly, and
Regardless, I don't feel finger pointing is going to get us
no.
further. So, no, so you were.
I know, I realize how it works. That was put out to everyone, but there were specific people that were responsible for that being put out.
Yes.
May I add something, please? At that meeting, 27th of April, James Leclerc was given the floor. He had the floor. He was given the floor by the chair.
I remember him forcing.
No, he was given the floor.
Regardless.
And then once it became,
Hold on, Colby.
I wasn't finished.
Hold on. You
And
can,
he was interrupted several times while he was trying to speak. Just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
yeah.
okay.
Can I say anything? I'd like to add the comment that I did ask for the floor. I was given the floor by the temporary vice chair acting, and I was carrying on a presentation about previous members of the Conservation Commission in good faith, and I was rudely interrupted.
I don't think you're going to get far tonight, Mike, because, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not sure, I believe we have some motions on the floor. Do you want to take a vote or do you not want to take a vote?
Listen, I want to retract my second, nothing against Jim. I want to nominate Colby because he's fresh. He doesn't have, there's no past meeting issues, and it just keeps it clean. So, because
I'll second it, and Colby, just again, no, it's nothing you really want.
It's nothing-
New board.
it's nothing against Dan, it's nothing, or Joan,
Voting.
or anyone else, or Jim. I just, the point moving forward, and we can re-vote in July. So,
You have two motions on the floor already. That it's seconded, so you should vote or vote to pass.
I vote to pass
On what?
on the two current nominations.
Are you running the meeting?
Yes.
Then you can. You can second it if you want.
Let's move this along then.
Vote to pass on the two nominations previously mentioned. So,
No, we're just waiting for a second, so.
Any guidance here, Mike?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting on me. So
No,
it
we're
sounds
not.
like you,
I'm just asking.
sure, it sounds like you made a motion to pass on the previous two nominations. And did I hear there was yep, and was there a second?
Nope.
Second.
You're seconding.
Did I hear a second there?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Do you want to take a vote to pass on the previous two nominations?
Yes. Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Abstain.
Joan?
Yes.
Colby?
yes.
James, yes.
Okay. So I think we've passed on the previous two nominations. And was there another nomination, or is there a new nomination? I want to make sure I'm getting this.
I nominate Colby Streeter to be vice chair.
Okay. Sorry.
Any discussion?
Needs to be seconded, please.
Hey, Mike, can Colby second it?
Yes.
Sorry, Colby.
Second.
I can. Discussion.
Yeah, I've been a member of this commission for 6 years now, and everybody knows my track record with another elected position. There may have been an outburst that's been thrown on my shoulders that I am really not responsible for, because I did have the table and the floor, and I only carried about my business as I had to govern myself accordingly. Colby has only been here for 2 meetings. And with the experience of sitting here, why would we want to have a vice chair that's only been on the commission for 2 meetings?
Colby has been here for more than 2 meetings, and he also sat through 2 meetings prior to being appointed. I feel that he does have a level head, but he's also a fresh set of eyes and a fresh mind in the game.
Mr. Chair, he's also clearly an integralist person.
He's a what?
Integralist person.
Don't worry, Jim, I have to look up that word too.
Full of integrity.
Yes.
I think you give them background to experience story. I have a degree in forestry. For 10 years for the USDA. I've installed septic systems for several years. I've been a arborist for 25 years. I have experience.
That means you're older than you look. Right? Can I take a vote?
Do you vote, Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes, Joan.
Joan? Colby?
Yes.
James Gates? Yes. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
And Joan stays the clerk until July. Or do you want to?
I don't have a problem with it, but I don't know if we're supposed to re-vote it.
Mike, do we have to re-vote clerk?
You might as well just do it if you don't anticipate an issue, just to be clean on that.
Oh,
But there hasn't been a change in I believe, as long as everyone's had an opportunity to vote for the position at some point when the candidate was considered.
well, that would,
When the candidate was considered,
yeah.
I don't recall that many times.
So every time we have a new appointed commissioner, we have to revote?
Typically, anytime there's new committee members, there should be it doesn't have to be immediate, but in short order, there should be an election of officers, because it's considered just best practices that no one should serve on a committee under committee leadership that they didn't have an opportunity to vote for or against in some way. So normally committees, have a little more consistency and longevity over time, which is why there's that guidance that there's supposed to be an election every July, with the idea that maybe the committee doesn't change, but they should have a new election anyway. But as long as everyone if there was a vote, I know like Colby is the most recent member. Was there a vote when Colby came in?
No.
Then it might just, for best practices, it might be best to just have an election for the clerk just to cover our bases.
All right.
Require a motion?
You gotta speak louder, the owl.
Require a motion, Mike?
Yeah, I think that would be best practices. Nomination, seconds, the same normal election of officers procedure.
I can't. So
Motion for Joyce Floyd to continue to be the clerk for the Conservation Commission.
I'll second that. Discussion? Okay. Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Too many J's. Colby?
Yes.
James Gates, yes.
And if anyone would like, especially for members who are in new positions, would like any guidance, or I'm happy to make myself available to kind of go through the general duties of each position and talk about that one-on-one. We don't have to take up meeting time for that. I'll make myself available for that because I know there's some folks in new positions. So I appreciate them.
Okay. Chairman's additions and deletions. I have no additions or deletions. Jessica, do we have any additions or deletions on your end that you need?
No, I do not believe so.
Chair's report. I don't currently have anything. Agents report. Jessica?
Thank you. All right. Dates covered April 25th to May 6th, 2022. I did 2 building permit interdepartmental sign-offs, 2 Granite Road, 67 Highland Street. No referrals were completed. 1 Board of Health interdepartmental signature for 116 Wallace Hill Road. We've made 7 site visits and inventory reports to date for Conservation Commission owned land. We've made 11 inquiries to date for orders of conditions issued in the past without certificates of compliance. We have an RDA for 46 Emery Road tree cutting for safety concerns. It's been on hold since March 7th and still continues to be on hold. Issued orders of conditions for 10 to 12 Spalding Street on May 4th. We have 3 requests for COCs for 1, 5, and 7 Bailey Road. We have an order of conditions extension request and minor amendment for 50 Highland Street. I'm sorry, I missed that one. That was mailed out this past Monday. We have an order of conditions extension request for the rail trail that was also mailed out this past Monday. We have a RDA intake for 41 Greenville Road for deck installation. I visited 75 Barker Hill Road to locate their wetland boundary for a proposed in-law suite. We had an intake for an RDA for 116 Wallace Hill Road septic replacement. I made a few administrative updates to the order of conditions cover letter that we mail out to applicants. And I visited 1 Capricorn Lane to review the tree cutting that they did on the Conservation Commission owned land abutting that property. Oh my gosh.
Okay. We do not have any hearings or appointments tonight. 3.1 TWB 2022-125 41 Greenville Road request for determination of applicability for the installation of a deck connection between an existing deck and pool within the wetland buffer. Jessica, do you want to give us an overview?
Sure. So the folder should be there with you guys. There's also materials in our drive. So yeah, the resident just has an existing deck off of his back porch, and then he has a pool, but he's just looking to make an additional deck connection to head to the pool. So that new deck is going to be about 70 feet from a wetland. So the activity will occur inside the wetland buffer. I believe what's proposed is just maybe 6-inch concrete footings to drive into the ground for that deck foundation. So fairly minor alteration within the wetland buffer. So the applicant's just looking for your determination for this.
Jim and Ann, you were on the site visit.
Yeah, I see no reason why this gentleman not be allowed to proceed. The pool is closer to the wetlands than this deck is going to be. So,
Jim?
I agree with Ann. There's no disturbance that's going to cause any problems. There's also a shed built to the left side. Essentially, to dig 3 sonotubes, put it on the ground. It's not a problem.
Colby, Joan, do either of you have?
I just have a paperwork there. I'm not seeing the TWB number on the RDA.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah,
It's on the agenda. Yeah, we don't write them on the RDA. We will write them on the determination of applicability that is issued back out to the applicant.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Ann,
make a motion
are you
to
in
accept.
favor?
I am.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Yes.
And James Gates is yes.
Sorry, I need to interrupt. I need you guys to make a motion for what response to put on their determination of applicability form. So if I can recommend, it would be a -3 determination. So which means that yes, the work, you acknowledge that the work is happening within the buffer and is going to be, although minor, an alteration of the ground. However, it should not have any effect
Okay.
on
So I
wetland
motion
function, please.
to make a -3 determination.
Seconded.
Sorry.
John?
I make a
I'm
motion.
so used to making the
I make a
motion.
motion.
Move it along.
Greenville Road RDA receives a -3 determination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Joan?
Oh, yes, sorry.
James, aye. Okay. What?
do a roll call vote.
Okay. Ann, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jim, are you in favor?
Yes.
Joan, are you in favor? Colby?
Yes.
James, yes. (3.2) TWB 2022-126 116 Wallace Hill Road, request for determination for applicability for replacement of a failed septic system within 100 feet of intermittent stream.
You're welcome.
Greenville Road, by the way.
Bye, Greenville Road.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Jack, I think this is you.
It is me. It is not an intermittent stream, though. It's basically a field swale, or it's not even really a ditch, but we had a site walk. Actually, do you guys have plans in front of you?
Matt, could you pull this up on the screen, or Jack?
I can share my screen if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harley, would it be possible for Jack Maloney to get screen share?
Harley, are you?
Thank you, Harley.
How's that? Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so let me zoom into the locus map. Locus map is a quad map. You can see the area that we're dealing with is all wide open grass area. The house exists up here, Wallace Hill Road out to the right. The clouded area where my mouse is or hand is right now is an existing cesspool. We plan on proposing removing that and putting a new 1,500 gallon H20 loading tank where this dark square is. And then the sewer line, it's proposed to be a gravity fed line, will run right down where my hand is to a leaching field in that open field area. And I know that Jessica couldn't stay for the whole meeting, but Mike and Ann and Jim and I walked the site, and where my cursor is now, there's the existing tree line. So everything from here to the right is wooded. Everything from there to the left is wide open. And then we get down to this section of the field, and it's basically about 2.5 to 3 feet wide. It's a bleed out area. There is a lot of ledge in this area. If you look at my test holes that are on the plan, we don't even have really 4 feet of seam material, apparent material underneath the top and subsoil, but we're allowed by Title V to build up with that in a repair situation like this. Test hole number 1, we had 48 inches, 60 inches in test hole 2, and 66 inches as we progressed further down this field. We would have liked to have put the system closer down to where 2 and 3 are, but we've got this ditch here, and we wanted to respect the wetland area. Again, it's just what we feel is just, this is a low spot. It doesn't show it on the other side of this ditch, but there is a north to south knob that runs along where my hand is. Jim and Ann and Mike, again, were out there. They could attest to that. But this is a sizable piece of property, but when you get on the other side of that knob, it's wide open field, and there's also little intermittent rivulets that run through there that collect water throughout the year. So we felt that this was the best area to put it. We tried to go a little bit further uphill than my test hole here, and we hit ledge at about 2 to 3 feet. So we kept the system in this general area down here.
Jessica? Can you tell us why the verbiage intermittent stream was going to be replaced?
I think I chose that. I wasn't sure what the feature was. But yeah, unfortunately I couldn't stay for the site visit, so I don't have a professional opinion of what that feature would be called. If it's just, sort of a stormwater swale, or if it would actually meet wetland parameters. So unfortunately, I really can't provide much input on this one for you guys.
Jack, is there anything on this, I'll preface this by saying we've been getting some plans in of late that are leaving some features out, as in like stone walls and such, that when we get there, the stone wall is there. Are we sure there's nothing that should be on this plan that isn't on this plan?
There is a stone wall that runs, but it has nothing to do with the property line, which is kind of odd. I showed Mike where this iron rod was, and it went right out to the road out here where my cursor is. But there is a stone wall that runs pretty much where my hand is, and then down this way near this iron rod, and keeps going in a north to south type of orientation. So the way the lot lines were set up is just, it has nothing to do with the stone walls that are out there, unfortunately, but.
Those sort of features, I don't believe are required for our permitting, you know, unless obviously if it's getting moved and then they ask in front of the planning board. But, and you had something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I believe that the runoff or swale or whatever that where the water was, I believe it's just a seasonal runoff. There was absolutely no wetland vegetation there at all, just grass, regular grass.
Jack, you said it was a field. Is it a field that gets hayed?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, it looks like it's pretty well mowed. Mike and I did notice that there were quite a few surface rocks that were marked with sticks, so the mowers wouldn't hit the boulders there and damage their blades. So with that being said, yeah, I mean, it's I don't think it's for anything commercial. They just probably keep it mowed, you know, a couple times a year to keep the grass down.
Okay, so you don't think there's any agricultural activities?
No, this field is actually relatively small compared to, you know, like a hay field or something like that. That would be more towards the other side, towards the west of this property. On the other side of that hump I was talking about, that's more of an agricultural type of field over there.
Okay. Jim, you were also on the site visit.
Being on the site visit, observing everything that I observed, knowing that this is a upgrade on an existing dwelling, I feel that the opportunity of having the leaching facility where it is, et cetera, with the new proposed tank is an excellent summary of the property.
Colby, do you have anything to add?
No, I was curious about where the ledge was, but I think he answered that. Is there a ledge between the proposed septic field and the house?
Yeah, there's kind of a knob up in here, and we did a unofficial test hole in this area here, and we hit it probably about 2.5 feet down. So then we ended up moving downhill, and these were the 3 holes that Rick witnessed, and we felt comfortable with putting the septic system in.
Yeah.
Joan, do you have anything else to add? Okay, so Jessica, what do you recommend for us on?
Well, unfortunately, my recommendation would be entirely contingent upon what that feature looks like, but I wasn't able to see it. So if it is just like a stormwater ditch and doesn't meet any stream or wetland parameters, then I think moving forward with an RDA as -3 is fine. Or not even negative. We don't even need a -3, because if that's not a wetland, then it wouldn't be subject to our jurisdiction. But if that feature does meet wetland or stream parameters, I do think that this is a pretty significant amount of alteration happening within the buffer. I mean, they are going to be grading, so they were going to, I assume, be bringing in fill or repurposing fill. They'll be excavating to put that new field in. And just based on other septic fields within buffers that we've done, we've had NOIs for. So yeah, it can go completely 2 different directions, but it is based on what that feature looks like.
So to me, it sounds like they cut a swale through. Again, I wasn't on a site visit, but based on reading the plan and what Jack has stated, it sounds like they just cut a swale through there to get the seasonal water that comes off that ledge.
It's not even really a cut ditch or anything like that. I had no better term to label it other than, a low area. And Jim and I looked further downstream, so to speak, of this area, and it's a pine forest at the very end of this. So to me, I mean, all that, if you can see the topo here, everything runs down to this area, and it's all field. And the same thing on this left side, everything comes right down to this area and it collects. It's more of a collection area. That, it had some water in it the other day when we were there, but in regards to the vegetation, there was no vegetation, like Ann said, and it's just a low spot, and it's seasonal. I think, once we get into June and July and August, that dries up.
Yeah.
But out of respect for the water that's there, we filed the RDA with the commission.
Can I stand up?
Yes.
So topographically, from this point over in this area, goes back uphill around to another area in the back where it's field again. And what we're seeing is the fact that in the springtime, snow melt, heavy rains, there's going to be water going through there. Mother Nature's taking her course. But as far as anything that's going to be infiltrating, as far as the wetland is concerned, or something of danger, does not exist.
Can I ask Jessica?
Yep.
Jessica, would it be better if we had another site walk where you could attend?
That's an option if you guys wanted to continue this to the next meeting and have a site visit where more commissioners can attend.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
I see that there are notes about a 50-foot buffer and a 100-foot buffer on this. Can someone slide over to the key so we can see what that dashed line is? Is that a wetlands delineation buffer? Or
Yes,
is that a buffer from a wetlands?
It's 50 feet from that ditch.
Okay. So
go ahead.
Are you treating it as a wetlands on this drawing?
I'm treating it as a wetlands for the purpose of the permitting, correct?
Okay.
Jessica, with that being said, what's your recommendation as our agent?
I don't even really have my own recommendation because I don't know what it looks like. Jack, were there any soil hand augers taken in that ditch?
We did not.
Okay.
With the lack of vegetation there, we just assumed that it was runoff, and I just located the outermost points of that area and labeled it as ditch. It's basically a grass swale, and
Probably a pocket that's surrounded by ledge that holds the water.
correct.
Yeah, did it seem like it was just surface water, rainwater fed, or any seepage?
Well, I mean, like Jim was saying, it's just because of the ledge is so shallow on this property, any of the water, I mean, there's an enormous drainage tributary to this coming down Wallace Hill from this side. There are, if you look upstream or uphill of this property, there are several rivulets or intermittent streams that branch out at different points and go towards the back of this property. But uphill of this particular area, it's all uplands. To me, I think it's just a bleed based on topography and what we have for soils and ledge. And like I said, come June, July, and August, even September, that's going to be pretty much dried up. And, the guy who mows the field is going to be able to get through there with no issues.
Yeah.
And one of the other reasons why we filed the RDA versus an NOI is it is some grading and whatnot in the 100-foot buffer zone if this were considered a wetland area. But, there are no trees that are coming down. This is just going to be all earthwork in a grass field area. And we have it surrounded with wattles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jim, you had your hand.
I make a motion to accept this as proposed.
-3.
-3 will be fine.
Discussion?
And seconded. Joan?
Thank you. I wanted to defer to our highly experienced and educated agent that we have.
Sorry, Jessica.
No, it's up to you guys.
Well, that's my, that we have another sidewalk.
So we got a motion, we got a second. Let's do a roll call. We had it, right. And the clerk.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
No.
Colby? Based on the information that I heard from Jack and, knowing that terrain, I'm voting yes. So.
Motion passed.
Motion passed.
I'm sorry, just for minute purposes, what did Kobe vote? I didn't quite hear him.
No.
I said no.
Oh, no. Okay, thank
We need
you.
more owls.
Yeah.
We don't vote. We need to close the public meeting.
Anecdotally, there were a lot of ticks out there. So not going out there again, you'll at least avoid some ticks for sure.
All right, so you guys voted -3 for Wallace Hill. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So Jack, we'll get you the paperwork probably toward the end of next week with that.
That's fine. I was going to ask that question procedurally. How's it work? So, okay, great. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Jack.
Jack.
Mike, do we have to close and open stuff for work sessions?
No, just public hearings for NIs.
That's correct.
3.3, TWB 2022-120, continue from 427-46 Emery Road, request for determination of applicability for the removal of trees immediately adjacent to both a pond and surrounding wetlands. Jessica, you said this is still in limbo?
Correct.
We need a motion to.
Why is it in limbo?
I think it's fine.
Is it the Sportsman's Club?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jessica, how much are the fees, please?
How much, sorry?
Do we know how much the fees are? That's,
I don't remember. It's been a couple months since I sent them to the applicant. But I think it was cost and then just time of year. I think they were trying to sneak in a lot of work right toward the end of March, which doesn't really work with endangered species stuff.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to A, continue this, or B, table it until the applicant reaches back out to us because it keeps getting put on the agenda.
A motion to continue this at TWB 2022-12-0.
Continue to what? Next meeting or until further notice? Or until
I want to go to further notice, and when they're ready for further notice, we'll take it from there.
Can I get a second?
Second.
discussion, please.
Joan?
Jessica, are you allowed to go back out there and just chat with them and make sure everything's been undisturbed?
I can. Time is very limited for me. But I think you guys as commissioners, someone is welcome to go back there as well. Mike Crowley has his hand up.
Mike?
If it's helpful, I'm happy to go reach out to the applicant and ask them where they are in the process and then ask to come out and talk to them about what their next steps are and just see where the lay of the land is and come back and report back if that would be helpful. But because I know Jessica doesn't have very many hours right now.
I'd appreciate that.
Joan, you're concerned with them. They've doing the work?
I just want to make sure that they're really not doing the work. That's all.
Okay.
Because that's a huge cliff up there.
Just folks, since the applicant's not here, you're not allowed to discuss this project.
Thank you.
So you just need to continue and move on.
Motion to continue. Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Colby? James Gates, yes. Continue until further notice. So we don't have to put it on the agenda, Jessica, until they reach out to us. 3.4, request for COCs for 1, 5, and 7 Bailey Road, DEP number 308-639, number 308-638, and number 308-637, continued from 4/27. Jessica, you wanna?
Okay, finally got myself unmuted. Yes, so yeah, I know we had this one on our agenda for the last meeting in April, and I requested that it was continued so that the commissioners could come out to the site. I had just, during my initial inspection for the certificates of compliance, I just noticed a few discrepancies from what was shown on the NOI plan and then what sort of ended up happening in the field. They are relatively minor. Most come from the extent of the wetland delineation boundaries, which I do know change over time. Sorry. And then the other was just that it looked like 6-inch riprap cobbles were placed in one of the wetlands just upstream of a culvert crossing underneath the private driveway. So it's probably an area maybe 150 to 200 square feet in size. That just was not noted on the plan that this material was going to be placed in the wetland. So I can only assume it would be unauthorized. It is a small amount of material. I don't think it constitutes a spill, so I was incorrect about that. But per our bylaws and per the Wetland Protection Act, it would, I think, still be considered some sort of alteration, placing material and potentially altering runoff characteristics. So at that, of course, it's up to you guys if someone wanted to go out and do another site visit, but just consider that for the approval of the certificates of compliance.
Ann, you were on the site visit?
Yeah, and that was trap rock, and the wetlands were indeed thriving in the trap rock, which I believe is what that trap rock is used for. They were definitely wetland plants, as vegetation, I should say, that was there.
They didn't have permission to put it there, correct?
You're muted, Jessica.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't present for the hearings at the time.
And I don't know if I can speak to the actual purpose of it too. It's to stop the entire driveway from washing out. So I don't know if where the driveway itself was on the plan, it's kind of necessary to the driveway. Otherwise, with the wetland close and expanding and the culvert itself could wash out along with the driveway and would result in a much more, I guess, traumatic event for the wetlands. So that is the purpose of the rock there.
Do you know if that was authorized to be put there?
So I'm not sure as far as they see the plan for the driveway and everything was okayed on the plan. So I'm assuming that because without that, the driveway itself could not be in that position, that it is a necessity that would be approved. But I started working about 6 years ago. It just happens to be my house as well. So I do know my father, as the builder, wanted to make sure that everything was, would be in order. So he didn't want to, cut corners or disobey rules. So I'm assuming that everything that was done, I mean, he had it all surveyed prior to installing to the driveway to make sure it was in the correct spot and everything was done appropriately.
The riprap's not in the order of conditions though, is that correct? The original order?
Looking at the order, it's just sort of the standard language from the order of conditions in attachment A. The only special condition was for the placement of like no disturb wetland signs up on the trees, and those are up.
Jim, you were on the site visit.
Yes, I was on the site visit prior to this being approved way back when I was there originally on the site visit. And I was on the site visit last week, obviously. And the 6-inch trap that was put in place for the purpose of preventing the erosion to allow the wetlands to revegetate, and is doing an excellent job. The disturbed zone would have been in conjunction with where the riprap has been placed was part of the construction of installing that driveway. It's my opinion that everything has been done the proper way. The riprap 6-inch crushed stone is doing its job exceptionally well, and the wetlands are actually regenerating themselves in compliance with Mother Nature. And it's my opinion that everything there is in fine standards, and I'd like to see more of that happen.
Yeah, according.
It's all part of when that driveway was installed.
Right, no, and putting the stone before is going to slow it down. It's going to preserve the wetland.
It was done properly. That's the way it would have to be done. Somebody might have overlooked some specific wording or whatever, but to view that and see how good it's working, it's close to perfect as we could ask.
Yeah, it could also be the guy in the excavator that had a little bit of stone left at one. Oh, well, it makes sense.
No, that was done intentionally to stop the erosion. You may not know worded, but they put it in to make that happen. Unfortunately, we can't pick up on every little thing, but in my opinion, that was 100% right, and it's doing its job.
And you had pictures on the drive, Jessica, or you shared them last time, and looking at them, it looked like it was revegetating nicely.
Yeah, things definitely did seem stable.
So, and there are still the signs on the trees.
No.
So,
the riprap might go 3.5 feet from the side to the actual driveway. It's not like it went into the woods. It's a minimal area to stop that erosion so they can revegetate, and it's doing its job excellent.
You can almost not even see it. You guys got to make a motion then.
This motion is a compliance issue?
No, it's to get their COC. Yes, Joan?
Jessica, are there fines involved though? Are there fines involved because it's past due on the filing for the COC?
Yes. So these 3 orders associated with these requests for COCs were issued in 2016. Yeah. So they expired after 3 years. So all 2 of them expired in 2019. One of them expired after it got a 1-year extension in 2020. But yes, so they have all been expired for several years. So I think the fee for each of them, I remember, should be $600.
And I just wanted to discuss that as well.
Go ahead.
So, okay.
The other conditions say 3 years on them.
No,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. So I wasn't sure if, I understand the intent is definitely to get people back in and not have this be 20 years from now. Unfortunately, with COVID, and I was out on maternity leave, and I'm the person in the office who would get those. So unfortunately, that was the last thing on my mind last summer once the grass had grown in. So I was hoping to kind of plead with those fees to see if there's anything with COVID that could be waived since we are coming with our house finished. Our grass and everything grew in last summer. So the project didn't finish, growth wise until last summer, which unfortunately I was out during.
Yeah.
Well, is it?
James, Kevin Smith just came in last summer with
Yeah, I know.
20 years, and we paid fine, so. Because if we waive the fees, then what?
Well, it's 100 years from expiration date. So the expiration date, if these were done in 2016, would be 2017. So, 2019. So it would be 3 years. So it'd be $300 each.
Well, and also, due to the fact that the fees just changed, I was under the impression to go by the 2010 guidelines until February 1st of 2022, and then would be prorated at that $100.
The Board of Selectmen approved the fees that we're currently using.
Jessica, input, please. Because you've done a lot of work on the fee schedule.
Yeah, I mean, per our current fee schedule, hang on, let me pull it up. Why is it taking so long? Per our current fee schedule, a request for COC after expiration of OOC, which we are at, for new construction homes is $100 per year $100 per each year beyond the recording date.
But we are changing the wording to expiration date.
Yes,
correct?
but
We intend to
right, that's
in the next couple
right.
minutes.
We have to go by what's currently in force.
Yeah, which is why I was hoping that we could discuss the fees at the last meeting.
Even, James, even if we change the fees in 5 minutes to zero, the Board of Selectmen hasn't approved that. They have approved that. So we have to go by what's in front of you.
Just conservation.
Those are the approved fees conservation uses that were approved by the Board of Selectmen.
We have the floor.
Yes, Jim.
We have a situation here with everything that's going on, including COVID, regardless of having a baby or not. And in general practice for the people that we have associated with the devastation of COVID, the fact that everything that they've done, in my opinion, is in compliance, but still working on that vote, I don't see where it's necessary to financially damage anybody else further for something that had to be extended because of a disaster in our country called COVID.
Then maybe this should go to the BOS and the waiver should be approved there then, not here.
I will, excuse me, I will chime in that these expired in 2019. Remember, so that was before the pandemic also.
Right, well, either way, go ahead, Ally.
We filed an extension for our lot that did expire in the middle of COVID.
But there's still, we're talking about 3 different projects though here,
Yeah,
right?
no,
So
I mean,
I understand what
I
you're
totally get the other ones. Obviously, we couldn't get a certificate of compliance until our lot was completed, even though that work was completed because of the driveway.
Okay. Yeah. So in the future, your order of conditions, there is a condition where you, if that's the case, if your work is not going to be completed by the expiration date, you will contact the commission to get an extension for that work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was kind of just an oversight with the fact that, yeah, unfortunately, but thank you. Yeah. I understand.
Colby, you had something.
Are we able to make a motion to reduce fees or give you consideration of?
Be unable to do that motion. You went to COVID.
That's where you're going.
Yeah. Learn something new every day.
Well, it hasn't been approved by the Board of Selectmen to bar their fee schedule based on COVID or not.
This is conservation.
those fees have been accepted and voted by the Board of Selectmen. I suggest maybe, if I don't even know if this would work, you could write a letter to the Board of Selectmen and plead the case there, and they could maybe make a decision. But these are town fees, and we are not authorized to change per case, case by case basis. They have to be applied evenly to everybody.
Sure.
Yes, Michelle.
You could just withdraw, or you could deny it and she could reapply once the fees are.
Yeah. Once the fees are revoted and reestablished. So I would say for a couple $100 each.
Well, you also have to remember the fees have to go back to the.
No,
they have to approve them, and they may not approve the changes because those were already recently approved. So, again, but
Can we move the motion?
Yes.
Motion standing is to accept, first of all, the, I gotta find the right spot here. Request for COCC's 1, 5, and 7 Bailey Road, 308-639, 308-638, and 308-637. I made a motion to grant. I'm confused right now. Somebody help me. As far as the riprap and all that being improperly put in position to get this thing gone through. I'm lost on how to word it. You are too.
No, well, I'm trying to be diplomatic too about this.
Do you want to give the applicant the opportunity to withdraw?
So, Ally, you can withdraw and wait, and it's a gamble if we resubmit our fee structure, and the Board of Select or the Select Board could accept it or reject it. So
I'm fine with moving forward as is right now. The only thing is based off of just the law in general, I would assume that because the fee structure just changed that. So as I did it out, Bailey Road would owe $94.60 because the fee structure that ruled over the orders of conditions from the recording date of the extension would be 8/16/2020 to 8/16/21, which would be a full year of the $50 fee. 8/16/21 to 2/1/22, when the new fee schedule was put in place, would be 169 days. So if you prorate the fee schedule of $50, it would be $23. And then from 2/1/22 to the day of application for the certificate of compliance of 4/22/22 would be another 73 days at the $100 rate that was put in place absolutely on February 1st, would total up to $94.60. And for the other lots, because they weren't extended, it would be a larger amount of $294.88.
yes, Joan.
we don't prorate. It's the fee schedule in effect when the.
You gotta probably speak up. I don't know if she can hear.
It's the fee schedule in effect when the COC is requested.
Does that, I just legally, I don't know how that would apply in my.
Well, that's okay.
Let's bring this back to Mike.
Hi, what can I help with?
Can we negotiate with the applicant?
That's a great question. I'm currently was looking up the procedures for fees. I do know that on planning and zoning, there is an appeal to waive fees, and I don't know if that's encoded in the regulations, and I can try and see if that's the case or if it's just something that is a practice or procedure. If you are considering that you want, if the applicant would feel better with the fee schedule that's potentially being approved sooner. I mean, she could request to be tabled until after that. I don't know if she would have to fully withdraw. I don't know about that. I'm looking up the fee structure right now for Conscom, and I'll look up to see if there's any language in planning and zoning as to how they are allowed to move along to grant waivers.
Okay, yeah, and not necessarily waiver, just, I'm not trying to negotiate it necessarily, just legally, if the Conservation Commission, I know this is an extreme, but just to put it as an extreme, if fines were put in place tomorrow that if you didn't get your orders of conditions and the fine was $10,000 a year, and that could go retroactively, when we're looking at, like when we agree to things, we are looking at a fee schedule that is drastically different. Legally, the retroactivity is what I would say.
This is going to, Allie, you're kind of the tip of the iceberg here in the lab rat, because there's a problem we have in, currently, that there's a lot of COCs out there. We had a couple that were 30 years old that we just found. So, we appreciate you help or working with us on this. But
no, and I get it. We are in the wrong that we didn't file.
Either way, we want to make sure we're not going to get ourselves into trouble and have to change things. So
Can we continue this meeting?
I think this would be best if we continue it until we know how we're
Sure. And I guess and that's totally fine with me. I mean, what's another few months at this point? It's just in the meantime, what does happen with that continuation of fees if we're being charged $100 a year and this keeps getting put off? Not put off. I totally understand that it is a limbo kind of.
I understand you don't want to keep accruing the fees.
Yeah.
You can ask town council. I mean, you could ask town council, James.
Mike?
Since you mentioned earlier that the fee is typically charged at the time that the order of conditions is requested, you could, under your jurisdiction, determine that the fee date goes until that order of conditions is requested, because that at least does satisfy the fact that the applicant's coming and looking into it. And if the Conservation Commission would like extra time in that way, they don't have to worry that the fee structure continues to grow. That could be something that you could consider if you wanted to.
Jim has a motion on, correct?
How to do this.
Colby, thoughts? Ann, thoughts?
I think we should continue it. I think we should I don't know if we can put a hold on accruing fees until we get this squared away.
Perhaps based on the date that they requested this COC?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. Ian, you want to make a motion to what you just said? And I'm out of line a little bit here, but I'm trying to be politically correct and proper.
Settle. Move it forward.
I make a motion that we continue 3.4 COCs for 1, 5, and 7 Bailey Road, and prevent a waive accruing fees until until this issue is resolved.
Can we get a second?
I thought you just said we were going to do it from the date that the COC was applied for.
Is that what you meant?
That's a date, we can
Based on
that date.
Based on the date of the COC?
Yes, application for the COC.
Okay.
That's makes sense.
So that's when the fees will go up to, but you're motioning to.
So we go past that date.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't want them to carry on.
Do we have a second?
Second. Oh, sorry.
Ann LaQueer?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
James, yes. So Ally, we're going to table this until we Mike can get us an answer, or maybe he can ask town council, and then we'll circle back hopefully by next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we're sorry that there's a delay in this, and
No worries. Hey.
we appreciate your patience, and yes, there's going to be more coming up. So
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. 3.5. Vote to approve plans for Townsend Hill Maple Sugar House located in Campbell Farm, CR. Have you guys seen it? No. Matt or Jessica, do you have a copy of the email from Scott Blaine that you could possibly read to us?
Yes. Did I not put it in the folder? I'm sorry. I should have.
You guys better at that, because I'm going to ask for input after that.
It's in the folder. I can screen share if you want, Jessica.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. 1 second.
Do you need screen sharing, Matt, or?
No, I'm just trying to, there we go, hold on. That was just a little bit tricky.
It's like,
Yeah, there we go, I got it.
I need the bottom paper.
There we go. You guys see it?
Yep.
Can you scroll down at the bottom and then we'll work our way up?
Yep.
So, do you guys want us to read it, or can you read it?
Okay. So which one, you want me to read the?
Yeah, I guess if you want to just start bottom up. That was Scott's on May 2nd.
A whole ball as well. Attached are the plans for the sugar house as we discussed the other day. I know you had marked the location when we looked at it together with the commission members the other day. These plans are for your review, and you will find that they meet all the requirements of the CR as we had discussed. This is our formal 60-day notice that we are putting up the sugar house as is required in the CR. Any questions, please let us know, but I am sure that you will all find it all in order and meet the conditions of the CR and what we are entitled to do on our land as specified in the CR. Please confirm with us that you have received this information when you get a chance, and we would also appreciate if you would review this as soon as possible, because we would like to get this all started as soon as we can. Thank you for your help, Scott Blaine, MCR General Manager, Custom Contracting, Inc. And then your response, you received the emails. I'm just going to shorten this up. Added to the 5/11 meeting. And then you also noted that they are responsible for, to obtain building permits if applicable for the construction of this. Their response is great. Thanks for confirming receipt and for also getting it right on the agenda on 5/11. That helps a lot. I think the Conservation Commission just needs to review this just to make sure that we are meeting the requirements, conditions of the CR, that we can go forward with it. I believe that we are not trying to do anything that needs an actual approval from the Conservation Commission for us to do this building based on the CR. Correct. Also based on the CR, we understand that if we were to need a building permit for this, that it would be our responsibility. But I think that it being a temporary structure, that might not be the case, but we will get that information and deal with it on our end accordingly. Thank you again for the help, Jessica. We do appreciate it, Scott Blaine. Let's start going around the table. Yeah.
I put over there, she didn't take it.
Oh, we saw it. We were on the property and saw where it's going.
Ann, do you have any?
I don't believe I do have anything. It's not involved in wetlands or anything. Is it really our jurisdiction?
Because of the conservation restriction, they have to run it by us to get the approval or blessing. Jim?
I'm all set with it.
Joan? Colby?
I was a little confused as to whether they were gonna get a building permit for it or not.
Well, that part isn't really our jurisdiction but based on the size, they are. It's not for us. Jessica, any input on that?
They know, which is why I deferred it back to them. They do know that they will need to check with the building commissioner to see if there are any permit applications they need from the building department to build this structure. So yeah, that ball's in their court. As part of that process, typically I do get the opportunity to sign off on it from like a wetlands impact standpoint. Yeah, so no wetlands in the field around here that we saw or any buffers. So it's just making sure that everything's in compliance with our CR, which I believe it is.
So how are they planning on powering this? Is there power run up there?
I don't
Or
know.
is it generator?
Colby, did you ask a question when we were on the site visit? Do you remember what he said?
I did not address the power supply, no.
So, I mean, that would be a building permit and, electrical permit that they would need from the building commissioner. So
Well, but
again, that's
if they
somebody
gotta
else.
run it up, if they got to run it up there, that turns into a permanent item, but also just running it up there.
That, I wonder, would that be against the CR restrictions? I came away with the impression that it was wood fired.
It is, but you gotta run the reverse osmosis,
Have an RO, so.
which I think is awesome.
Right, but.
The only way to make syrup.
Very good question. So we approve with the condition that, well, I don't know, wait a minute, we need to know what kind of power, if that's allowed under the CR, right? Jessica?
Might need to talk about it.
This is no wetlands involved on either side of where the power source is going through. It's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Right,
it is our jurisdiction because of the CR.
but because we're the governing body over the CR, but they also might just run a generator.
Can I make a motion, please, that we continue this until we get that information, because sugaring season is over, and they've got a whole year. Because we have to make sure with the CR that whatever the power, if they can do that, does that make sense?
There's that, or you could approve it with this stipulation of power that they need to disclose a plan for it, because it could just be as simple as we're going to put a generator over there.
But what if it's electricity? So then we'll have to go, then we have to go back and say, well, we gave you the approval, but you're putting in electricity, and we read the CR again, and you can't have electricity. So I think one more meeting, if we waited, that would be my suggestion. So we get to that's an excellent question. Who is on?
So Joan has a motion to continue this to the next meeting based on the question of how they're going to be powering this. Do we have a second? Colby second. Ann?
Okay.
Jim?
Yeah.
Joan?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
James, yes. We're continuing this until the next meeting, so we can, Jessica, do you mind reaching out to them to have that question answered about electricity
Can do.
and review or if we need to review the CR to see, but
Yeah, I did look at the CR. It is a little vague from that standpoint, but I can look back at it again once I hear back from the trustees what their plan for power is.
Okay.
Thank you.
I should say, just in discussion with them, they were transparent about wanting to.
Yeah.
Just the language might not have addressed it exactly, so.
James's point though, that it's a permanent structure.
Well, no.
It'd be a permanent, yeah,
If they run the electricity to it,
exactly. So we'll find out.
but that's a different, so, okay.
Jessica.
3 point, there's a mess up on the number, so it's actually only 3.6.
Right.
3.6, vote on potential Concom fee schedule revisions.
That's what we were supposed to do within the past 2 weeks, am I not right?
So, Jessica did ask that the revisions desired be forwarded to her so they could be disseminated into the shared box before this meeting. And I didn't find anything in the shared box to say. I'm not prepared to look at something that I'm seeing just right now for the first time.
I'd like to make a motion to carry this to the next meeting because of everything that's gone on within the past 2 weeks.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Ann?
yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
We have discussion.
Yes, we can have.
That the fees get to the Jessica and Matt in a timely fashion enough so that they get put in the box so we could actually study any potential changes, please. So like not the day of, maybe like a week before, if that would be possible.
Okay, so within the next week, and if, I guess if Ann or Jim need to come and talk with Jessica and Matt, if you set up a time with them. Colby, yes. Joan? Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
James, yes.
We had a question from Mike Crowley.
Yes, Mike?
I just had a quick question. Since you're continuing this to keep working on it, does the committee want to consider whether or not they want to include anything about indicating when dates for fees are relevant to the conversation we previously had about whether or not fees are collected until the order of conditions, the close of the order of conditions is issued, or when it's applied for, like we were just talking about with the applicant, where there was that not so much clarity. Do the fees accrue up until you put in your application or until the CONSCOM decides? If you're going to be putting more notes, it might be worth considering addressing that in this.
Jim and then Joan.
This will be happening this week. We'll get this thing resolved and then we can look at it and hopefully everything will be favorable and we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Mike. That's an excellent reminder. And up until the date the COC's applied for.
Yeah, because if they roll a year in that time they have to apply into the time we meet.
Jessica, you got that?
Well,
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm out of
Enough of it. Yeah, I think, the sooner the better that we can do this, please, just because
She wants it done.
every time I get an RDA application, the applicant doesn't understand what fee they owe. So I'd really just like to nail down the wording of the schedule. I mean, I've never received any complaints about the amounts. It's just how it's worded. It's very difficult to understand as an applicant.
Jim first, then you.
I'm going to pass on.
Okay, Joan.
I do want to thank Matt and Jessica and Mike for putting together the expired order of conditions list. So we do have all these people coming forward, and so the paperwork's getting finished up, and we are getting some fees. So thank you for that.
All right. So 3.7 enforcement discussion for 61 Edward Road. Jessica, I'm assuming we're looking to you for this.
Yes. So unfortunately, of course, all my notes are at the office, but this property is on the corner of 119, and it is right across the street from the Squanicook. There's a really big wetland valley, and it's right next to fire station and like Cherry Hill and the soup restaurant. I've gotten so many complaints from residents just stopping in and on the phone about all the litter in this resident's yard and down in the wetland. So I sent them an initial letter on March 16th and then didn't see much change. So I sent them another letter on April 6th. The one on the 6th I did send with certified mail, and we did get the receipt back. But basically just asking this resident to remove all of the litter from the wetland, most importantly, which seems like that was actually done after the first letter. But removing most of the litter from the hill slope too, which would be in that 35 feet, just to help protect the water quality and not clog up any drains, because they're in outstanding resource water. They're in preferred rare species habitat, and then they're obviously right across the street from, they're in the ACEC, and then they're right across the street from the Squanicook. So basically, they got a second warning. And at this point, because I did give them some timelines and they've had ample notice of this, as the conservation agent, I have per our bylaw, I have the right to enforce a fee of $300 per day until the debris and litter is cleaned up. As the Conservation Commission, you guys have the authority to give the resident a written notice to appear before the Clerk of Air District Court if desired. So fortunately, there doesn't appear to be any explicit dumping or polluting, but there are lawn mowers in the wetland, and just lots of debris, as you can see pretty clearly from driving by. So just given the number of complaints I received, I did feel that I did need to try to address this. And unfortunately, we have not seen much improvement.
Discussion?
I think it might be a good idea if another letter is sent stating that if you're given this much time and if these issues are not taken care of, then you will begin to be assessed $300 a day or $100 a day.
So to chime in, that was the point of the second letter. I sent it about a month after the first letter. And I mailed out the second letter on April 6th. And in it, I did say, I gave them the 30 days at that point before we do reserve the right to take enforcement action if desired. So I can send another one like that, but of course it's completely up to you guys.
Walk of the place and invite them to a meeting.
Are you making a motion?
At this point, it's a suggestion to see if there's any conversation or discussion about that. I think we need to do a little backtracking there.
Joan, what are your thoughts?
I don't have any.
Colby?
On Jim's train of thought there, has there been any contact with the property owner?
There's been a certified letter mailed and
Knock on the door.
Jessica, did you get that? Have you actually talked to them?
No, we haven't talked to them. We don't have a phone number. But yeah, we did receive the certified receipt, so we know they got it. That was the purpose of sending it in that form. But unfortunately, we do not have any census data from the past several decades on this property, so we don't know if there's some sort of age limitation or anything. But no, we have not made any physical contact with the owner. I don't think there's been a car in the driveway when I've made my 2 visits.
Well, let's check.
Oh, you have been there twice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I drive by it, but I'm not really actively looking when I drive by each time.
I make a motion to send a receipt return letter requesting permission to view the property by the Conservation Commission.
And what about if we added on a given day?
On a given day.
Would name the day and time on which we'll be there. There's no communication.
If they don't respond, we're still trespassing.
Coming Wednesday sidewalk, right? Maybe a week after. Today is, so you wouldn't, so maybe not next Wednesday would be too soon, but the Wednesday after for that site visit cycle? Does that make sense?
They've already received a certified letter.
So next Wednesday for a site visit?
I don't even know if we really, honestly.
We'd have to get a response back from them after they sign for the receipt.
Right.
If they don't sign for it, don't pick it up. Where do we go?
Jessica, are you allowed to go knock on the door? Is that something that?
I mean, I can. I'm not really comfortable doing that alone.
I could obviously go with you. I mean, that's something we want to do. I don't know if that helps at all.
I mean,
the letter, so.
No, yeah. No, we wouldn't want, we shouldn't go alone either, but
Nobody should go alone to that.
if these people aren't responding, you know,
I don't know why he would respond to the 3rd letter. You know what I mean?
Right.
you know, who's to say they're going to respond to a enforcement fine?
I wonder if it would be
It's better
wise,
than nothing for another attempt that way.
if it would be wise to get a police officer.
If we did, I would suggest the environmental police, see if they can.
Yeah,
be a resource.
somebody of this higher standard than one of us.
And they can address the issue better than a local police.
That's a good idea.
It is a great idea.
Do we know the environmental police?
Mike?
I just wanted to offer comment on that. I have actually been in communication with environmental police officers on a couple of different issues in town. They have stipulated they won't come out for this kind of thing unless there is like something very official. So typically they don't come out for enforcement, and there has to be public postings for things for enforcement. They also have indicated that they are exceptionally busy, and in some cases it takes months for them to get back.
Like everyone else.
Yeah, a lot of that going around.
I do suggest I could send another letter saying that we'll be out on the site at this day, this time, and have it happen between now and when our next meeting is. And in that letter, also state that we'll be discussing your property at our 525 meeting. So that gives them an opportunity to plead their case too. Because yeah, of course, there might be some limitations that we're unaware of. So that's an option too.
I don't even think we need to step foot on the property to view it either.
You can very easily see it driving by or just pulling off onto Edward Road. So yeah, I don't think we necessarily need a formal site visit, but I would suggest that giving the resident a chance the opportunity at least to come to our next meeting to discuss this prior to taking potential enforcement action.
Agreed.
Where do you want to go with this? I had a motion on the floor. Want me to retract that and make a new motion?
What do you feel that?
I'm going to make a motion that we go for
Retract your original?
I'm going to retract the original one because that was a receipt return letter. Okay, and if we can view this from the road without going on the property, after viewing that, then we can send them another letter to request their presence at a meeting.
I think that's what should be done in accordance with your
Motion?
motion. Yeah, that we're inviting them to the Conservation Commission to discuss what's going on.
Okay, to clarify the motion, I make a motion that we agree to have a site meeting off property, off site, where we can view the actual property and the problems of the wetland. After that time, send a letter inviting them to the following meeting to discuss the situation.
Do we have a second?
Second?
And a second discussion? Add to it?
Ken? I think that we should all, not together, but individually, go down and view the property from the road. That way we've all had a chance to see the issue, so we're well aware if we're not going to do an actual site visit. I think that would be a helpful.
The motion is still for a conservation site visit, which will be scheduled and documented. All signed in, know who's present, and then a follow-up letter with an invite.
Okay. Certified letter to the applicant, or to not the applicant, the offender.
I don't know if they're not gonna return a receipt return letter. We're up against the wall because we have no way to.
The last one, Jessica got the receipt back.
She did. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in favor of that, Jessica?
Repeat that?
Are you in favor of that?
The return receipt.
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. I would just also advise that we throw in some dates too, so we keep this moving.
Okay.
All right. Ann, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
James, yes. So that's what we're going to do, Jessica. The letter,
Okay.
the dates, and we'll have an on-site, off-site meeting.
Do you guys, okay, so you want it to be a group meeting though, an official group meeting? Okay.
Yep, so it's documented, and then we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay, so we will visit next week. I'll send an email with the details. We can visit next week. I will send a letter to the applicant on Friday, this Friday, via certified mail, inviting them to attend our 5:25 meeting as a follow-up discussion. Okay.
Okay. 3.8, vote for haiku contest and grading Earth Day test. Joan did a great job at the Earth Day, and
The winning haiku was number one. That's Leonora Becker, and she'll get the first $50 gift certificate to Evans. Should I read it?
Sure.
Yeah. The wind blows in the meadow. The children like to play in the garden and make little bouquets for their mother and paint with their father. That's a real sweet haiku. And that's the great thing about haiku. 575 goes out the window most of the time. Yeah. So that's that. And then the nature quiz, I've never done this before. It was very strange. I took the nature quizzes and because it said if you took the quiz, you'd be automatically entered it for the second gift certificate. I just threw them down the stairs, and the one that went the farthest is the winner, and that's Megan Donovan. So I will be notifying these two young ladies that they each get a gift certificate, and I've got their contact information. So, and I thank them very much. Oh, I have the nature quiz. If anybody'd like to study it later, it was pretty fun, and people learned a lot.
thank you, Joan, for doing it. Did a lot of people take the quiz?
7 haikus and 4 quiz takers, which is better than nothing. A lot of people, didn't know that it's better to use powdered laundry soap than the stuff in the plastic bottle because it goes farther and it's in a cardboard container. And I'm especially fond of question number 1. Next one, we've got some of the cleanest water in central Massachusetts.
So 4.0 correspondence, 4.1 letter requesting 66 Bayberry Hill Road be removed from 61B designation. So, dear Conservation Commission, please accept this letter as a formal request to remove 66 Bayberry Hill Road, lot number 9-32-0, house and land in its entirety from 61B designation. I would like to remove the property from recreational status. I realize that the town has first right of refusal. I'd like this letter to authorize the starting of the process. Please let me know if you need anything further or have any questions. You can be reached by telephone or email. Sincerely, David Kumpu and Walter R. Kumpu Jr.
Is that a building lot or something? A piece of woods? What is it?
I don't know. Jessica, do you have any history on that? Or Mike Crowley for the one.
Yes, Mike.
Yep. So the property was under Chapter 61B designation, which is open space designation for recreation purposes. There are several parcels like that in town. I do also have an update. So the letter that you received went out to several other people in town, and one other department requested council to view this, and town council made a determination that because the new proposal for the use is continuing to keep it for the same use but not under 61B, that the town doesn't have right of first refusal because there are several specific things that are outlined under chapter land that are conditions where right of refusal isn't part of the consideration. The property owner will need to pay the back taxes that when you have land under chapter designation, you have an annual reporting, and if you report annually, you have a reduced tax rate because you're foregoing the building rights basically by keeping it under that so you get taxed at a different rate as if the land isn't buildable because you've removed that right while you're under chapter. They will have to pay the back taxes that is standard for removing it from chapter land, so they will have to settle that out with the town accountant and the town tax collector. But town council did say that because of the use isn't changing, but it is just changing designation, it does not qualify. However, the property owner has to maintain that for at least a year. And so if they do decide later on to not go with the thing that they're telling us to do, that they're doing for at least a year, then it comes back to that right of first refusal.
So is there anything as Conservation Commission that we need to do?
At this time, I would just keep it for record keeping. And for your advisement, oversight of chapter land is something that is under the purview of the CONSCOM, in particular, the removal of chapter land. If there was, say, for example, property that was being sold and you had the right of first refusal, you could even make the motion to try and acquire the property. But in this case, it's being handled, it's being managed. We're making sure that the tax off folks is on top of it, and we're going to make sure that the property owner is following up with us as they need to do in the process. I can just keep you apprised of the situation. There isn't any action necessary, but anything you'd like, I can provide.
Okay. Oh, we acknowledge the receipt of the letter and moving on. 5.0 education conferences. I do not have any. 6.0 items for discussion at the next meeting. Does anyone have anything?
So,
Go ahead.
also, can we discuss decorum at site walks? Maybe with Mike's help, or deliberating at site walks, sort of thing. Mike, that's something.
I'm happy. I think I heard most of that. If that's something you're asking for the next meeting, I'm happy to just review open meeting law policy about decorum at site visits. If that is something that you're asking for at the next meeting, or is it right now?
No, for the next meeting. please.
Okay. Yep, that is covered in the open meeting law guide that is in the packets that you guys have that will be in your folder from now on in the future. Happy to cover it and just outline the specific areas that talk about sidewalks, site visits.
Ann, you had something?
No.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. So next meeting is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Board of Select Chamber, second floor. This meeting will also be held via virtual Zoom remote in accordance with COVID-19 safe meetings guidelines.
Motion to adjourn. Whoops.
I just wanted to say that it looks like the state's lifting the COVID safe meeting guidelines as of July 15th, and I believe that means that you have to have a physical quorum present in the room to have a meeting, whereas now everybody could be Zooming, so that will change. So
I assume Mike will guide us on those changing.
I promise you will get official updates as I get them.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Ann?
Yes?
Joan?
that's at 8:50.
2? Yeah. Motion to adjourn 8:50. Colby?
Yes.
James Gates, yes. Meeting is adjourned.